Hello. So, it's really cool to be here. This is my first time in Romania, and it's really nice. People are also really nice, and I've learned some cool words like salut. So, salut. My name is Ives van Hoorne, which is quite hard to pronounce. So you can also call me Ives, Ives, and for some reason my friends call me Flip. So if you want to call me Flip, that's also fine. I mean, my name is even hard in the Netherlands, so that's already tells enough. I'm a software developer at an auction website called KetterWiki, and I'm also a computer science student at the University of Twente. You can find me on social media under the name CompuIves, and I have a website, ives.cool. It's written in Angular 1, so definitely check that out. It's the future. So I'm going to talk about CodeSandbox, and I want to ask one other question. Who of you have used CodeSandbox before? Oh, that's really cool. So I can just walk away now and be finished. No. Before I'm going to talk about CodeSandbox, I want to tell you the story behind CodeSandbox, like how it started, because I think the journey is most important for like a website. So about 2 years ago, I was on a vacation to St. Ives, and guess why we went there? My name is in it. So I was there, and I was still working for KetterWiki full time, and I was converting the Ruby on Rails pages to React. And we did this with a team. So at the time, I didn't have my laptop with me at St. Ives, and I got a lot of questions from my coworkers about React specifically, or about how to build React with Ruby on Rails in combination. And I didn't have any way to answer them because I didn't have my development environment with me. So they sent me code snippets on Slack. I had to run them through my Ives interpreter. And that interpreter is much worse than V8. I have learned so much today about V8. And I had to give them the answers that I thought would be the solution, but it didn't work. So I started thinking after a few beers, like, what if I would have my local development environment everywhere? And the follow-up question was, what if I would have my local development environment on the web? So that is an idea. And like everyone, I put it in my idea box and didn't really do anything with it. I started going to university, I started getting lectures, and I felt so unproductive. I didn't build anything anymore because I was a student. So I kept thinking about this idea, but didn't really do anything with it. But I reached my peak point of unproductivity when I started getting Java lectures. At that point, I was so desperate, I had to build something. So that's when, oh, we're already too far. Okay, so that's when I started building like a mock-up in Sketch. And it's quite simple. You have like you have the editor on the left, preview on the right, you have some buttons on the left, and you can click on them, and you would see new components. And note the name React Sandbox. That was the first name, but we decided later on CodeSandbox. So the next lecture, I started building it. And I was already super happy with this, because with this, you had like this code on the left, and if you started typing, then you would get a live preview on the right. And I found that super cool. So I got more enthusiastic and more enthusiastic. And I started building more and more and more features. And it started getting really big, because when you get one Java lecture, like university has unlimited Java lectures. You'll have them for ages. So I had enough time to work on CodeSandbox. And at some point, we reached the point that I was thinking like, whoa, this is already getting pretty cool. Maybe other people are stuck on St. Ives as well and might use this. And that's when I started getting my friend Bas to join me. And we started building the CodeSandbox as you know now. And almost exactly 1 year ago, we released it as a React editor. And to clear up any confusion, we're not only React editor anymore. We have like Preact, Angular, Svelte, Vue, React. So let me just show you, because this is still a pretty vague concept. The first thing I want to show you is the home page, because it says, and then for the next one, that's so fun. I spent a week on this. And we have vanilla. So let me just show you the editor. So this is the editor. And like your local editor, you have like this code. You have some files that you can see. You have dependencies. You can add npm dependencies and use them. The new thing here is the preview on the right. You have a preview that you can like play around with. And if you change code like hello JSHeroes, it will update. And I can also use my Romanian language knowledge. So, zoom in? Oh yeah, let's make it a bit bigger. Is this big enough for everyone? Okay. So this is what CodeSandbox is. And quickly after we released CodeSandbox, it became more popular than we expected. Apparently, there are so many people stuck on Ives. It's unbelievable. And we started setting up values to like set a direction in which way we want to work on. So we have 3 values. We have lower the learning curve, we have encourage sharing and discovery, and we have give a local editor experience trademark. And I want to tell you, this talk I will explain the values of CodeSandbox and what we do for it. I will also explain some new feature that we deployed a month ago called CodeSandbox Live. And I will also tell how CodeSandbox works internally. So the first value is lower the learning curve. And I find this one very important because when we started building CodeSandbox, it was quite, we didn't have Create React app when I started building it. So people were overwhelmed with the JavaScript fatigue. And it's still like a small issue. Like if, let's imagine you're starting to learn web development. The first thing you have to do is install a code editor. Then you have to install the terminal and learn the terminal. Then you have to install npm or maybe Yarn. I mean, you have to make a choice. And you have to do all these things before you can even start building an application or editing an application. And this can be quite like cumbersome. It can create friction. And it would be super nice if you could just go to a website and start editing like the white text and see an update without setting up any environment. Then later on you can take it offline and continue offline if you want to. Dan Abramov had a quote, I think last half a year ago. Configuration should not stand in the way of getting started. I altered the quote. I made it, installing tooling should not stand in the way of getting started. So I think you should first, if you want to learn web development, then you should do the web development first before you decide that you want to continue with web development, if you want to find it out. But with CodeSandbox, we are like in a unique position because we support the whole context. We have the files, we have the editor, we have the preview. We know everything about the whole project, so we can do some interesting stuff. So I have a nice project here. Is it readable? And of course, it's a counter. I mean, everyone builds counters, apparently. So the first thing, if I try to increment this, you can see that we have an error. And we show it in both in the editor, but also in the preview, like we use an error overlay. And if you are like in a different file and click on it, it will open the file. So this one is pretty easy to fix. I would do something like this, and now the counter works. But I don't really feel safe using this. I'm a millennial, so I should probably use a library or something to do this. So this is another good example. We know the whole context. We know all dependencies. We know the whole preview. We know all the code. And we can detect, oh, there is a missing library. And we can show a suggested solution, like add Lodash as dependency. And when you click that, it will add Lodash as dependency, like you expect. And I can use the safe form of adding numbers. And it also works. Another example specifically for React is the raw module example. Many people have done this, I think, that they create a module without an extension, and then they try to use it as a React component. And if you do that, I wish I was as fast as Kietse here. Like this, you will get an error because you're trying to use a string as a component because this raw module will give back a string. And it's quite, like, this is the original error, and it's quite, like, it's confusing. It doesn't really say what's happening. But because we know the whole context, we can actually transform the error and give like a more friendly error. Like it seems like index.js is importing a raw module counter, and we can show a solution like rename counter to counter.js. And if you click that, it will rename it and it will work. Where is my slides? There it is. And we also try to interface everything. Like even told before, it's UI. I mean, humans are visually focused. So if you show a UI, it will be much easier for people to already understand something. And we do this for example configuration. Oh, if you have like prettier RC, we show a configuration that will generate a config file. Instead of showing this, we show this by default, and you can change it. And also, for example, for adding dependencies, you can just add dependencies using a UI. You can even select a version. So that will also make it easier for beginners to get started. The second value is encourage sharing and discovery. And sharing is already quite obvious. I mean, we're an online editor. So if you build something, then you can just copy over the URL, give it to someone, they can fork it, and they can continue. But in the case of discovery, that's a more interesting one. Because with discovery, right now, CodeSandbox has 300,000 like web applications hosted on it. And it would be super cool if you can just like search for them in a very easy way. Haha, surprise. You can. So this is our search. And for example, if you need help with, you don't know how Redux works, then you can filter on the dependency of Redux. But if you want to like know how it works in combination with React Router DOM, then you can filter on that as well. And you will see all the different projects that have both dependencies. So you can find examples and you can learn from others' work how everything plays along. Woo! You can also embed any example anywhere you want to. So if you have like a cool example, you can put it in Medium, you can put it on your website, and even people can add it inside the embed. This is like an embed, and you can do whatever you want. So that is also a good way for sharing with others. And we support importing from lots of different places. So if you have like a local project, then you can put it you can get it on CodeSandbox. The one that most use is import from GitHub. If you have a GitHub repository, you can get the last part of the URL, paste it after the codesandbox.io/s/github, and you will get a sandbox, a project on CodeSandbox, that is synced with the GitHub repository, which means that if you make a commit on GitHub, it will automatically update the sandbox as well. And if you make a change on CodeSandbox, you can also do commits from CodeSandbox to GitHub. So it goes both ways. We also support exporting with the CLI. You can install CodeSandbox and then deploy it to CodeSandbox. You get a URL back. And we have an API, so you can use do a post message and get a sandbox back. And there's also a library, React Code Sandboxers by Novini. And that one is also a way to create a sandbox. The last one is give a local editor experience. And I think this one is most important because we don't want to create any friction between local and online. So for example, if you have like, if you're starting on CodeSandbox and then later on take it offline, then you don't want to learn a whole new environment. So it should look like CodeSandbox as well, or the other way around. And we do some pretty cool stuff here. Like we have jest testing, jest integration, so you can, in a visual way, you can see all tests and you can click on the test file and see all tests inside the test file and run tests. And we also have GitHub committing and opening pull requests, and we have deploying to site. So you can just deploy any CodeSandbox sandbox as a production version to site. And I'd love to demo this. This is like the most fun thing to demo. But I have found like a riskier demo. So I want to demo that. It's called CodeSandbox Live. And we released this 3 weeks ago. It's like the name says, it's like real-time collaboration in the browser. So you have a sandbox, and you can open it up for everyone, like a link, and they can join the sandbox and start real-time collaboration, like editing at the same time. And it was super fun to build this. We've built some, It was super fun to build this. We've built some really strange stuff with some friends while testing this. Like, I don't know what this is, and we made some really strange stuff on there. And we have two modes. We have open mode and we have classroom mode. Open mode is like everyone can edit, but this can also be used for example, for workshops. Like you're an instructor and you want to have 50 people join in on a sandbox. That can be a bit chaotic. So with classroom mode, you can say, you can edit, and you can edit. And the people that join can also fork along the way, so they can branch off in their own version if they want to continue on their own work. So you can probably expect what we're going to do. This is the riskiest demo I've ever done, I think. So that's why I'm nervous all day. Okay, so I will open up my counter for editing. I can press go live. I will get a URL. I will send it to my friend Bas as well, who is in the Netherlands. And if I can zoom on this, people can join up now if they want to. This is tricky. I know. I won't put it open for long. Yeah, we have some people. Oh boy, what's happening? Yeah, so okay, now I'm going to put it in classroom mode so I can select who can edit. But one thing I want to show is if I make Bogdan an editor, and if you put your cursor somewhere, on the counters or something. Oh yeah, it's getting hot in here. Oh, he's there working. Okay, we'll skip this part. But CodeSandbox Live is great for collaboration and if you have jobs interviews or those kind of things. I generally encourage everyone to do if you're doing workshops, put on classroom mode because people like kids will join in. So CodeSandbox is now 1 year old, and we've had a lot of growth in the past year. It's grown insane, and it's last month we had 62 million requests a month, which is a huge amount for us. But the cool thing about this is that since until last month, everything was running on a $40 server with 4 gigabytes of RAM. So what do? Well, everything is local. So all the preview that you see is not happening actually. Not on our servers, I mean. We bundle everything in the browser. We use your browser to to do the execution. Because it's JavaScript, it can run in the browser. But still, there are some challenges. I can do another demo. I want to just show you that it works. If I open new and go offline. Oh, what am I doing now? You see, it can still update everything. So it's real-time collaboration. No, it's offline support. But there are some challenges. We need to do bundling. But we also need to support NPM dependencies. And everyone knows how big node modules can be. So imagine everyone is talking we need to reduce our bundle size with 500 kilobytes. And we are oh yeah, the default create React app has 158 megabytes, so you'll need to download that on your phone. No, that's not very nice. That's a bad UX. So we have a solution for that. Imagine if an average phone has a 3G connection and needs to download 158 megabytes. It will take 3 minutes, and we need to put everything in memory. It's impossible. So they'll need to wait 3 minutes. But there is a solution, and we've had 4 iterations before we came here. It turns out that if you have a node module, if you have a dependency, 99% of the time the dependency is not using all files. So what we do is, when you request a package, we go on the server, we install the package, and from the root file, the main entry point, we start checking for all require statements. And we're building a whole graph of all the files that are required by the require statements, and we'll only use a portion of the dependency. A very small portion, actually. We put this in a JSON file and cache it, so when in the future someone asks the same dependency, we can just give the cached version back. But what if someone wants a combination of dependencies? And this is a very normal use case, right? Well, we do the same thing. I mean, those are serverless functions. So we package them separately, put them in cache. Then another function will just combine the dependencies, do some version resolving, and also put it in the cache and give it back. And this takes, now we only have 250 kilobytes of dependencies to download for this case. But it's not perfect. Let's say you want to use an icon library, like React icons. No one uses all icons of an icon library except if you're building documentation for the icon library. So you'll probably only use like 6. So in this case, we don't include all the files to the bundle. We actually almost include nothing. And if you need a icon, then we will first check the whole file tree, which we can do with that call. Then we'll get the whole file tree of the library. And then we will only download the necessary file. And that's our kind of solution for dynamic dependencies. If like the system is missing something, then we can still download it dynamically. So I was thinking it would be super cool if everyone would be able to use this browser-based bundler. So I started thinking about a name. Like we could make this a library and we could give it a name. And we're kind of backing JavaScript on the web in the browser. So I was constantly thinking, maybe we could use this name. But apparently some people already took that name. So I was not able to name it Webpack. We decided to name it Sandpack because CodeSandbox pack. So you have like Sandpack, but it's still in beta. So we call it Smooshpack for now. Oh. Because there's a whole, I love every word with smoosh in it. So yeah, we're calling it Smooshpack. And it's super simple. Oh, sometimes this clicker is like going the other way. So it's quite simple. You have a manager from Smooshpack, and you can initialize it with some files on a element with an ID, and we will render a preview of those files there. And you can use like npm dependencies, you can use multiple files, and it will render it. And you can also call update preview, and then it will do hot module reloading automatically and give you back the new preview. But it's much easier to see what it is with a code, like a live code example. So this is CodeSandbox in CodeSandbox. This is pretty confusing. This is very meta. So we have this index code and second module code, and we create a manager on the element with ID app, and we say render this index code, which is document.body.innerHTML is UUID. So we can also, for example, change this to like import styles and CSS. And it will become red because this body color is red. It has all the things that CodeSandbox has, almost all the things I think. Transpiler, so you can use Sass, Less, Stylus, TypeScript, Vue files. It has npm support for npm dependencies, module.hot, hot module reloading, and also the API of Webpack. Offline support, it's all on a service worker, so you can use it offline. Webpack loader syntax, like raw loader, the error overlay, we have code splitting, so we only use the files, the transpilers that you actually use in your preview. Result caching, and HTML entries. So this means that you can do, for example, a partial template. One thing that I didn't add is we also support jest testing. And we also have React Smooshpack. It's like a wrapper around it. And it allows you to use components with Sandpack. So you can have like a Sandpack provider, give it the files and dependencies and entry. And it will automatically update the code if you change these props. And we expose some components like File Explorer, Code Mirror, Browser Preview. And you can use all of these components on the left. And the right side is our components that we're still working on. So another example. So this is the code that I just shown. The code that I just shown in the example in the slide is this. And now with these lines of code, you get CodeSandbox. Inside CodeSandbox. You can also make this a function. So you can also throw new, whoa, it's so instant. So you have like errors. And there are many different use cases for this. Algolia is working currently on something that will use this. And Babel is actually also using it in their new REPL. Maybe I can load the REPL. Oh no, I don't have auto completions. Shit. Okay. I don't know if I can do it here. Yeah. So this is their REPL, and this one is using Sandpack for the transpilation. And the advantage is that they will get CodeSandbox-like features, so they will be able to have like Babel RC editing, they will have custom plugins, custom presets, those kind of things. And you can use it for other things as well. For example, I have some crazy ideas for this. Like maybe you want to have an online editor that syncs with Dropbox, so you can edit Dropbox files directly. This would be a good use case for that. Or maybe you want to have like interactive documentation that uses like a very custom version of the preview. You can use this for that as well. So I think I'll just have time to do one more thing. I think I have it here. Yeah, so I wanted to show you the jest test, and that is here. This is an imported GitHub repository from the Redux examples, and you can see that we have like a test view, and you can open all the different files and see changes and even change stuff to be broken. I like the color red, and you will get the like changes, and also in the code editor. You can even fork this and then open a pull request to Redux to say like, I broke your test. Could you merge this? Like, I can do that right now. And open a pull request. We'll now fork, create a branch, create a commit. And it will now open the view for the pull request. Oh, I think I didn't open it. I should have opened it, I think, because it blocked the tab. Oh, it's here. Yeah, here. So it will now open the pull request like, I broke your tests. And oh, I even add a prettier overall everything. Even better. So that's also one thing you can do. So I think this is everything that I wanted to tell. I wanted to thank the contributors. We have many contributors. We're completely open source. So if you want to check out our repository, it's there. And yeah, thank you. If you have any questions, just come to me. I have stickers. I have happy thoughts. And yeah, thank you very much.